While retirement is generally seen as a time of relaxation and self-focus, God calls us to love, serve, and help others for a lifetime. He has been preparing us for this retirement season, literally our entire lives. In retirement, countless Christians enter a state of spiritual dormancy, not knowing how they are called to have an impact for God's kingdom. The Retirement Reformation seeks to encourage and empower the 50 million Christians approaching or in retirement to embrace the calling God has been preparing in them. When the world says it's time to stop, you can begin to have your greatest impact. Welcome to I Retire for Him, the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation, where our goal is to journey from retirement to reformation so you can say, I retire for Him.
Did you know that when you retire, your calling doesn't retire? Your calling is a lifetime calling, and if you're still around, God isn't done with you yet. If you have a pulse, you've got a purpose. And if you're not dead, you're not done. Your calling didn't retire when you did. I know you're fully aware of what you retired from, but what did you retire to? Hey, welcome to I Retire for Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation, an organization dedicated to you, helping you find purpose, fulfillment, and meaning in your retirement days. We've got Bruce Bruinsma here today, the founder of the Retirement Reformation. And I'm your host, Jim Brangenberg. Please check us out online, retirementreformation.org, retirementreformation.org. And specifically for today's conversation, check out retirementreformation.org/wraparound as we continue our series in Wraparound Grandparenting. You see, we have a crisis in the foster care and adoption system. Way too many kids and not near enough homes to place them. We have a surplus of people in the body of Christ who go to church every Sunday and who have the perfect homes for these kids, but they're afraid to become foster parents. Why? Fear, knowing that it could very well overwhelm them and their families. But there's a solution, and it's called Wraparound Grandparenting, and Bruce Bruinsma joins us today to dig deep. Bruce, we're in the middle of a 3-part series talking about wraparound grandparenting. In case somebody missed the last podcast, exactly what is wraparound grandparenting?
We think that wraparound grandparenting is the churches, as Jesus answered when he said, who do you need to care for? He listed 2 people, widows and orphans. So when we talk about fostering and adoption, we're talking about those orphans. That's who it is that we're talking about. And how is the church able then to come alongside and to make a difference? Well, as you indicated, there are 115,000 kids that need to have a foster home or to be adopted. And one of the problems, the reason why there are so many openings, is that those who step into that fostering role step out of it often after a year due to a lack of support. And so if we think about entering into the fostering role as the front door and withdrawing from it as the back door, one of the issues that we need to solve as the church is how do we shut that back door and how do we support those foster parents and adoptive parents so in fact they have longevity in that role. One of the things that we've realized is that there is a group of people, about 48 million of them, that are Christ followers that are 55 or 60 and older that have the experience and the capacity to be that supportive network. And we call that supportive network to those foster parents and to those adopting parents wraparound grandparenting.
So, Bruce, you and Judy did fostering. Martha and I have done fostering. All of our kids have done fostering. But this wraparound grandparenting thing, have you seen this in action? Is there a place in this country, in the United States of America, where wraparound grandparenting is happening? Where did you learn about this? I mean, because I know you're excited about it. I'm super excited about it because I've seen it work in my own family. But where did you see this in action? Where do you see it happening?
It is something that is new, that is just evolving. And the way that it evolved was, and for us in our understanding, there's an organization called CAFO, and CAFO is a Christian Alliance for Orphans, and it's the association of all the different organizations from around the country that are involved actively in fostering and in adoption. And speaking at one of their leadership conferences is where I became aware of the numbers and the problems. And then as I spoke with leaders and said, what's the answer to this? And they said, if we could just find a support network that could come alongside of these foster parents and adoptive parents, we think we could make a difference. And I said, so have you seen any places or any ways where that happened? And one of the men said to me in a conversation, he said, yeah, what we had some grandparents that stepped up and said, we can be supportive for that. And it was out of that conversation that the idea of wraparound grandparenting took hold. And so it's a new idea around the country. And that as the Retirement Reformation, we have embraced that idea of helping seniors find meaning and purpose by plugging that back hole and coming together as a network to be supportive of them. And that's where wraparound grandparenting comes from.
What's hilarious, Bruce, is this is a new idea that's about 6,000 years old. I mean, when you think about it, in the Middle East, where all of our people come from, this is the culture is still like this, where, parents have kids and then they have kids and they all live together. And then if an aunt or an uncle dies and they leave kids, they get adopted into the family and they get surrounded by family. It's a little village raising kids, and it's the family, the greater family, the expanded family does this. But we don't live in cultures like that anymore. And certainly not the United States of America. We're spread out. I got kids in 3 different states. You got kids in 2 different states. And why do you see the church is uniquely equipped to handle this problem?
Well, first of all, one of the charges to the church is to care. When we talk about the fruit of the Spirit, the lead off is love, and everything else falls underneath that. And so here's a community of people that Christ has called together and charged with the responsibility for loving and for caring. And so first of all, you start with a caring community. Second, you start with a growing number of people, 4,000 a day across our country, of retiring seniors who in fact have the time, have the experience, and have resources to be able to step into areas where caring and love is needed. And so the church is uniquely challenged and equipped to be able to step up into these issues. Unfortunately, the church has generally ignored this. Matter of fact, when you ask most senior pastors, how many foster families do you have in your church? And what happens when you ask that conversation is they look up at the sky for a minute and they think as well, I know we have one because and he'll name somebody, but I don't know about any more. And I said, how many grandparents or how many seniors do you have that you think would be willing to come along and support foster parents and adoptive parents? And they kind of look at you about, oh, yeah, I have no idea. And so there is both the capacity that Jesus talked about in John 15:16 of preparing us to bear much fruit. Here is an area where fruit bearing can be experienced and delivered, and where loneliness and meaning and purpose can be added to the lives of seniors who many have lost it. And so all of those things come together, Jim, into what we call the legacy of love and wraparound grandparenting.
This wraparound grandparenting seems to be like the final cog in the wheel that's been missing forever and really alleviating the foster care system. And when we come back in the 3rd segment, we're going to dig deeper into this. And we're excited about this conversation. And we want to invite you to get involved and excited about this conversation. Go to retirementreformation.org/wraparound and study this. Learn from what we've learned, and then download a copy of, Bruce, you've got an online booklet that you've written that is a downloadable document called Legacy of Love. Is that available at that same spot? If they go to the /wraparound, will they get Legacy of Love as well?
They will. There will be a place where they can register, and then the Legacy of Love will be available and sent to them virtually. They can download that, read it on their screen, print it out, share it with others. A wonderful learning experience. So let's talk some more about that.
All right. You're listening to I Retire for Him. We'll be right back.
Recreating Retirement is an interactive small group study helping you to move from nothing to what's next. You can join us on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. East Coast time on Facebook Live. Our goal for this study is to provide a group setting for interaction and new ideas while leading you through a first step in your journey from retirement to reformation. Here's the big idea. During the next 5 years, 5,000 small groups will experience this journey of discovery in churches and faith-based organizations across the country. Is your church a place where recreating retirement needs to be planted? Join us online to experience the study or prepare to lead a small group at your church or ministry. Email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org or go to our website at retirementreformation.org. That's retirementreformation.org.
Hey, welcome back to I Retire for Him. As we do in every middle segment of every show, Bruce brings on a special guest that's got something to share with us. Bruce, who do you have for us today?
Well, today we've got a special guest, and one of the reasons why he's so special is that when I first was exposed to something called Every Child Arkansas, I just thought, wow, that's something we need to know more about. That introduction allowed us and brought me into conversation with Shayne. And so, Shayne, welcome to I Retire for Him, and bringing to us the message of Every Child Arkansas. Give us a quick executive summary of what that is, and then I'll ask you some personal questions about how you became involved.
Okay. Every Child Arkansas is an initiative here in the state, and it is actually under the umbrella of Restore Hope Arkansas, which is the organization that kind of serves as the backbone of Every Child Arkansas. It is a collaborative effort to get together all of the organizations and agencies throughout the state, and even individuals and businesses and churches to work together on our foster care crisis throughout the state. So we have 28 partners that make up the Every Child Arkansas initiative that are positioned across the state.
And the purpose of that initiative, stated most succinctly, is to fill in the blank.
Is to work on recruiting and the retention of foster families. We just don't have, like any other state in the country, we don't have enough foster families. And the ones that we do have, we lose about 50 to 60% of them every year. And so we're working on a wraparound support model for churches that and for other organizations that can help to come alongside the foster families to keep them in the game longer.
Well, and as in the prior two episodes of I Retire for Him, we've talked about the role of wraparound grandparenting in being key to that support network. Give us just a quick executive summary of your background and how God led you to the position that you're in now, and why that's meaningful.
For about almost 28 years, I was either a pastor or on pastoral staff at churches in Arkansas. And one of the things that I did to serve in the church is to work with senior adults. And I loved that, especially. It was one of my favorite ministries that I had the opportunity to be involved with. And so often we would, preach and teach from the pulpit to get people to get involved. And then they would come and ask us, well, how do we get involved? And sometimes it would catch us off guard, and we would think, well, I'm not really sure. But through our work with Every Child Arkansas, I really truly believe that there are many ways that we can see senior adults to get involved with foster care and really change maybe help us to change how many families are dropping out every year through that wraparound support like you're talking about.
Yeah, that backdoor problem that you talked about is really critical, because the degree to which we could slow that down or help it to pause would in fact increase the number of children that would be impacted by those that are loved. And so it's not only helping foster parents to not withdraw, but supporting them and the kids to be able to leave a greater legacy of love than what would happen without that. So how's the initiative going? Is it slugging along, and are the churches open and the organizations open, or is it And is it a lot of work, or are you finding a receptive spirit that just needs more impetus?
Well, we do. We have had a lot of things happening over the last year, a little bit over a year since we officially started the initiative. A lot of organizations have come on board, and even the governor, when she was elected, our governor, Governor Sanders, when she wrote her executive order, she came to Every Child Arkansas to help to put the footwork to her executive order and to the implementation work to it. And so that really, I think, helped to legitimize Every Child Arkansas a lot. We also have national partners. We work very closely with Christian Alliance for Orphans, CAFO. And so we've actually adopted their more than enough vision, and so that we want to provide more than enough for children, families before, during, and beyond foster care. And so we've got I believe that we have the organizations together to help us to really work on that. And so we don't just have recruiting organizations, and we don't just have wraparound support organizations. We also have organizations for youth support. We have organizations for reunification of the biological families. And so because it takes all of those things to bring those numbers down. If we can reunify kids in a safe way to safe homes, then that's less foster homes that we need. But if we can recruit homes, more than enough to have homes waiting for children instead of children waiting for homes, that's our goal. And that's what we kind of talk about with our organizations. Talking to them, that if we can just get us together and work together, we believe that we can reach our more than enough goals.
It would seem to be that way too. And while I don't want to open up a conversation of intentionality, but I think sometime, Jim, we're going to need to do a separate segment on those children that are in the foster system that are then aging out. Yes. And what is happening to them. Could you just very briefly describe what that issue, give some context for what that issue is, because it's a huge one, I know.
Yes, we've actually had phone calls from DCFS from across the state to ask us if we could help in some way to work with the young adults who are 18 who have aged out of foster care and really don't have any place to turn to. And that's one way that I really believe that we could use senior adults in this realm of our work, because those kids aging out in Arkansas, they have to have a mentor to be able to continue to get their board payment. And so there are a lot of senior adults out there that are really good with finances and things like that. They could work with these young adults to help them to manage their money and to help them to find a job and those kind of things. I believe that when you and I first talked about your ministry, that's what I really got excited about, was these young adults aging out of foster care and how we could connect them with senior adults.
Shayne, I was going to ask you a question. So wraparound grandparenting, which is what we're talking about on today's podcast, on both sides of you, it involves getting a family to join the foster care system and bringing retired couples around them to support them in their effort to grab a kid out of the foster care system and give them a home, and potentially, if they're available, to adopt them into their family. Do you have good examples around Arkansas of this happening, where a couple's making a commitment to be a foster family or an adoptive family, and they've got couples around them helping them get this done?
Yes, absolutely. We actually, in Arkansas, when you go through training, they require you to have 2 care families that you name to go along with you in your training, and they're support families. And so I would think that if we did the right kind of messaging in our churches, that we could encourage senior adults to be those foster family support families that can come alongside them. Also, and some other practical things that some people are doing in Arkansas to get senior adults involved is Arkansas Baptist Children and Family Ministries has a transportation ministry that because a lot of times it's really hard to get children to their visits with their parents because sometimes siblings are separated and you have to get siblings all together in one place for their visits. And so they are actually paying senior adults, or not just senior adults, but a lot of them have gotten involved in it, to provide that transportation support for DCFS here in Arkansas.
Well, I think just by the example that you just used, it makes the point that the whole idea of fostering and adopting and is complex.
Mhm.
And in that complexity is where the support can shine, and where we can shine the light of Christ on being able to come alongside in so many different ways. And I think that's the reason why the idea of having, as you talked about, there's a regulation in your state that a foster family needs to have 2 support or caring families or groups to come along with them. That's a perfect example. We happen to think that if you had 3 of them, there's now a support community that they can come together themselves and gain benefit of that relationship while they're providing services in the fostering and the adoption arena. So if there's one message that you'd like to give to our senior audience that is listening to this podcast, Shayne, what would that message be?
I think one of the biggest messages that we've been trying to get out to potential volunteers and people who could really make a difference is that everybody can do something. Just because you can't be a foster family, just because you can't adopt a child, doesn't mean that you can't get involved in the child welfare space. And there are so many ministry opportunities. I believe it's Psalm 68:6 that says that God will put the lonely with a family or in families. He will settle the lonely in families. And so that I believe that. I believe that God will work through the local church and will utilize the senior adults to not, if they can't be in those families, they can sure be a support of those families. And that's what really excites me about what you guys are doing, is because I feel like that's one of the biggest untapped potential that we have in the state is our senior adults across the state.
And we believe that's true across the country. So again, thank you for what you're doing. It's our pleasure to be able to partner with Every Child Arkansas and Every Child and versions of that, hopefully in all 50 states over the next couple of years. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. And as we pray for you, what's the website that you use if people want to go to kind of check out what you're doing in a greater detail?
It's everychildarkansas.org, and we have a portal there that with 2 choices. You can go through our portal and you can actually sign up there to get information about becoming a foster family. And also we have a volunteer portal where if you just want to volunteer with our local organizations, and it will actually highlight the county that they live in and who's available in their county. So everychildarkansas.org.
Thanks, Shayne. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back with more on I Retire for Him.
Our work on this earth doesn't end when the paycheck stops. God calls us to be faithful for a lifetime. Whether you're looking forward to retirement or you're already there, our all-small group study, Recreating Retirement, will help you understand, engage, and activate what God has for you in this 4th quarter of life. Join Retirement Reformation founder Bruce Bruinsma as you consider your past, strengths, spiritual gifts, and your passions, and how they all come together as the call God has for you in these years. Connect with us on our online community group at facebook.com/Retirement Reformation, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, or if you'd like to bring Recreating Retirement to your church, email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org. Are you ready to start your life-changing journey today?
Hey, welcome back to I Retire for Him as we're talking about wraparound grandparenting. This is the second in the series of 3 podcasts dedicated to the subject of wraparound grandparenting. We invite you to check out our website, retirementreformation.org/wraparound, and not only read about what is wraparound grandparenting, but to download Legacy of Love, a pamphlet, an online PDF that you can download and read that talks even more about this. Bruce, why is wraparound grandparenting so important in order to get parents to adopt or to foster?
Well, it's like everything else, for those of us that are seniors, we can think back to the times in our lives when we seemed to be called or exposed to new opportunities and we were hesitant to step in. The reason we were hesitant was because we had a lack of knowledge or a lack of experience or general fear about our own capabilities and all of those things. And you can apply that in lots of circumstances. Well, it plays itself out now as seniors when we can recognize the needs that's there. And I think you mentioned, Jim, that now in our world where our children are spread across the country, and that as seniors, we are often alone. And so how do we find those opportunities to be able to step into and to be able to overcome that fear of not understanding and knowing? And through the legacy of love, we want to be able to erase those fears and replace them with the love and the caring that God has put deep into your heart, and is how the Holy Spirit is impacting you to do that. You know, I was just reading in our Legacy of Love booklet. It says, in the embrace of a family, a child finds warmth, love, and security. But for young people in the foster care system, these fundamental needs often remain unmet, replaced by a yearning for stability, for connection, and understanding. And so the areas that where there are needs of the children that are trying to be met by a foster family, that you can come along and support. So stability and consistency, you can demonstrate that. Love and connection, you can demonstrate that. Education and support, how to in fact become a better you can do. Health and well-being, how to be supported in your physical being. Spiritual guidance, preparation for adulthood, to know what it means to have a voice and to be empowered, to have a mentor and respite care for everybody involved, and then community support and advocacy. I have a story of wraparound grandparents who, one of the 3 members of the community that were providing support for a foster family, was one of the members had been not a superintendent, had been a principal of a elementary school. And the foster parents and the foster kids were having real struggles with their schooling. And so because of the background and experience of this wraparound grandparent, is able to go with them and first have an individual meeting with the principal and then with the teachers, and to be able to provide a context so the school was better able to meet the needs of both the kids and the foster parents. And so just one example of many of the needs that are there, and that we have been prepared to be able to be of help, to be of assistance, to be of encouragement, and to be able to bring the love of Jesus to the family and to the kids.
So, I mean, this is a rhetorical question, but it's really not. We did a series several podcasts ago, the Gray series. And really, wraparound grandparenting is so important to the wraparound grandparents because it deals with all those issues. Tell us about that, Bruce.
Well, we know that the heart of so many of the issues that come in that 30 years that we call retirement, the gray issues that you talked about, stem from loneliness. And so gray divorce, gray bankruptcy, gray suicide, gray addiction, all of those things come out of that idea of loneliness. And so when you come together in community with a few other couples like-aged and with a common purpose of being able to support a foster family or an adoption family, those areas tend to fade as meaning and purpose comes to the fore. And when we really think about the meaning of John 15:16, where Jesus said, "You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I have prepared you to bear much fruit." And that loneliness comes from a lack of fruit bearing. And so here's an opportunity to bear fruit in multiple ways, to impact lives that will provide a legacy that may go on for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. The foster children that Judy and I were privileged to be able to come alongside for 10 years, now almost 40 years later, their lives still reflect what happened when they were part of our family. And so it gives great meaning to us, impact to them, and how it is that they have dealt with their own children and their own marriages.
When you look at the impact And let's talk to pastors right now. You look at the impact of a wraparound grandparenting initiative, which is really just doing what the Bible says to do. We're not talking about a new program. We're just talking about being obedient to the Bible. When you look at the impact on the local body of Christ that occupies four walls on a Sunday, what do you see, Bruce?
Oh my goodness. What I see is a new life, a new energy, a connection, a meaning and purpose. You know, one of the things that our society and our culture is saying to the church is that you are really irrelevant. And the impact of that is huge. So what's the demonstration of the relevancy of the love of Jesus inside the church and by the church to the community? Here is a real life opportunity to be able to be a light and to be salt to the world, and to be a clear demonstration of what it is that means. Unfortunately, those examples are noticeable in their lack rather than front and center of their implementation.
When you look at the fact, you've stated in the prior podcast, and I think at the beginning of today's podcast, that if a couple within the church, usually it's a younger couple, decides they're going to become foster parents, or maybe they're going to adopt out of the foster system or adopt, period. You're saying that 2 or 3 couples, 3 or maybe 4 couples come alongside that family as they adopt or foster. That's an ideal number because they can help with lots of, what's the right word, of things in the atmosphere all around that child, whether it's helping with tutoring, maybe just giving a break and doing babysitting. It could be helping with meals. It could be helping with cleaning. Because when a kid comes in the foster system into your home, that kid at first is just really disruptive because, and like you got 2 of them. They disrupted everything in your household because your household was all of a sudden very different. And things that used to just happen normally all of a sudden are a lot harder to do. I mean, you're only talking 3 or 4 couples and you're not talking about a full-time job.
An hour a week is what we say.
So how long do you think it takes to implement? Sorry, this is a very long opening to this question. How long, Bruce, to implement a program like this in a local church? How long would it take to get this started?
2 months. And we can help with that. And let me just bring one other context that I think would be important. We're seeing more and more grandparents having to become the foster parents for their grandchildren.
Right.
They're coming to live with them. Now imagine a 65 or a 70-year-old, and all of a sudden you've got 3 grandkids coming to live with you because your kids have gone off the rails. What would be helpful to those grandparents in their role as being a foster parent, if you wish, for their grandchildren? And so it's not just younger couples, but we're seeing many opportunities within the church to be able to support them. And so we see in many churches where, Bob and Sally, my goodness, they had to take their grandkids in, and Bob and Sally are, 70. And now they're trying to cope with all the issues of being a parent of a 4 and a 5-year-old, or a 7 and an 8-year-old, or a 12 and a 13-year-old. And so the impact on the visibility of Jesus in the hearts of the people. I had someone say to me in a meeting not long ago, when they were talking about their experience in their church, what they said was, I thought our church would be supportive of us. And what we found was that they didn't understand.
So it's not that they weren't supportive. They just didn't understand. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help all of you understand the significance of this. It's not an initiative and it's not a new program. Just how about a re-implementation of biblical principles? Wraparound grandparenting. It's what we're all called to do. We're called to take care of the widows and the orphans. It's all over the scriptures. There's examples everywhere. How can you do it in your local church? Go to retirementreformation.org/wraparound and read about it, study it, download the document Legacy of Love, and get this started. If you want to help getting it started in your church, we've got resources to help you. We've got organizations to walk alongside you. We can help you get this started. But it does take one local family that's willing to get involved in the foster system, which that may take more than a couple of months, but not usually more than 60 days. This is something that needs to happen. There's 400,000 kids in this country that need a home, and you guys can help. You've been listening to
Jim, before you wrap it up, let me just say, Judy said to me a week ago, she said, you're doing a lot of talking about wraparound grandparenting. When are we going to start that? And so we have a meeting with one of our local groups this week. We've challenged our life group to be a central force for that. And so Judy says, I think we need to put our actions where our mouth is. And so we can follow the progress of the Bruinsmas as they become wraparound grandparents in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Love it. We'll get an update on the next podcast to see how that's going. You've been listening to I Retire for Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation. I'm your host, Jim Brangenberg. And of course, Bruce Bruinsma has joined us today from the founder of the Retirement Reformation, where we ask you to check out retirementreformation.org/wraparound and research this subject. We're Christ followers journeying from retirement to reformation so we can ultimately say, I retire
for Him.
Thanks for listening to I Retire for Him with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg, and Retirement Reformation founder, Bruce Bruinsma. I Retire for Him is the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation. Most Christians tend to follow the world's pattern of rest and self-pampering during retirement. However, in your retirement, you can be focused on God's unique call to love, serve, and help others. This can be your best season of life if you take advantage of a life's worth of knowledge and experience and combine it with a greater freedom of time and money and invest it all in the generations both preceding and following you. The Retirement Reformation is encouraging Christians to find and follow God's call in all seasons and aspects of life, especially in retirement. Take time to sign the manifesto at retirementreformation.org and explore the wealth of resources available on our site. Join this movement of God and journey from retirement to reformation so you can say, I retire for Him. Go to retirementreformation.org.